The entire courtroom burst into laughter the moment I said, "I'll represent myself." My husband's attorney actually smirked. His mother leaned over and whispered, "This will be over in 10 minutes." Even my husband couldn't hide his smile. Across the aisle, 6 members of his family watched me like they were waiting for a public execution. I didn't argue. I didn't react. I simply placed one sealed envelope on the table and waited. When the judge entered, he glanced at me and asked one simple question. "Mrs. Carter, are you absolutely certain you want to do this alone?" I smiled. "Not anymore, Your Honor." Then I slid the envelope across the courtroom. The laughter stopped before anyone even opened it. The first time my father-in-law called me temporary, everyone laughed. It happened at Thanksgiving, barely 6 months after Daniel and I got married. He raised his wine glass, looked around the table, then smiled. "Let's hope this one lasts longer than Daniel's sports cars." The room erupted in laughter. Daniel laughed too. I forced a smile because I thought that was what a good wife was supposed to do. Looking back now, I should have realized that moment wasn't a joke. It was a warning. My name is Emily Carter. For 17 years, I believe my marriage was built on loyalty. I was wrong. Daniel and I met in law school. He was charming, confident, and came from one of the wealthiest families in Chicago. His father, Richard Carter, was a retired appellate judge whose name seemed to carry weight everywhere we went. His mother came from old money, country clubs, private charities, charity galas where people shook hands without ever asking what someone actually did. I didn't come from that world. My father was a public school history teacher. My mother worked as a nurse for over 30 years. They taught me something far more valuable than status. They taught me that character always outlives reputation. After graduation, Daniel joined his father's corporate law firm. I accepted a position with the military's legal division. The work was demanding, long hours, complex cases, constant pressure. But I loved every minute of it. A few years later, when our daughter Sophie was born, everything changed. Daniel's career was accelerating. Mine came to a crossroads. One of us needed flexibility. One of us had to be present for school events, doctor's appointments, birthdays, and all the ordinary moments children never remember but always need. I chose our family. I left active legal practice and began working remotely as a legal consultant. I never regretted that decision. Not once. Daniel often told people he couldn't have built his career without my support. At least, that's what he said in public. Behind closed doors, things slowly began changing. The late-night meetings became more frequent. Weekend client conferences appeared on the calendar. His phone never left his hand. If I entered the room unexpectedly, the screen always went dark. Whenever I asked if everything was okay, he'd kiss my forehead. "Just work." I believed him. Because trust isn't something you question every day. It's something you build over years. Until someone quietly starts tearing it apart. His parents never stopped reminding me that Daniel was the successful one. Whenever the family gathered, my mother-in-law loved introducing me the same way. "This is Emily. She used to practice law." Used to. As if raising our daughter and supporting my husband somehow erased everything I'd accomplished. I smiled through every comment, every comparison, every backhanded compliment, because arguing would only prove their opinion of me, or so I thought. Then one Tuesday afternoon, everything changed. A courier knocked on our front door. "Package for Mr. Daniel Carter." Daniel wasn't home. I signed for it. It was a thick envelope from a downtown law office. I wasn't trying to invade his privacy. I simply noticed one sentence printed beneath the firm's return address. "Confidential family law documents." My stomach tightened. Daniel came home 20 minutes later. The moment he saw the envelope on the kitchen counter, his expression changed. Only for a second. Then he smiled. "Oh, that's nothing." Nothing. People tell the truth quickly. Lies usually arrive with explanations. Over the next 2 weeks, I started noticing things I'd ignored before. Large withdrawals from our joint account. Property appraisals. Mortgage statements I'd never requested. Even stranger. Daniel began asking casual questions. "What do you think the house is worth these days?" If we ever separated, who do you think Sophie would want to live with? He laughed after asking. I didn't. That weekend, while organizing paperwork in our home office, I opened the wrong filing drawer. Inside sat a neatly organized folder. Across the tab were 3 words: Divorce Preparation File. My heart stopped. I slowly opened it. The first page wasn't addressed to me. It was a checklist. Assets, property, custody strategy, financial disclosures. Every page carried dates stretching back almost 8 months. My husband hadn't just been thinking about divorce. He'd been planning it. Carefully, quietly, methodically, and according to handwritten notes in the margins. His family believed I would panic, hire an average attorney, and accept whatever settlement they offered. I closed the folder, took one slow breath, then quietly smiled for the first time in weeks. Because there was one thing Daniel, his parents, and every expensive lawyer they planned to hire didn't know about me. The morning of the hearing, the courtroom clerk looked toward my table. Counsel for the respondent? I stood. I'll be representing myself. From the row behind Daniel, someone laughed. The courtroom felt smaller than it had a minute earlier. Every seat seemed occupied. Every pair of eyes seemed fixed on me. I could hear papers rustling behind Daniel's table as his attorneys organized thick binders filled with color-coded tabs. There were 3 of them, all experienced family lawyers from one of the city's most respected firms. Daniel sat between them wearing the same confident smile I'd watched him wear at charity dinners, business events, and family holidays. His father leaned toward him and whispered something. The 2 of them smiled. I didn't need to hear the words. The message was obvious. They believed this hearing was already over. The bailiff called the room to order. Everyone stood as the judge entered. After the usual introductions, the judge looked directly at me. Mrs. Carter, the record reflects that you are representing yourself today. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. He studied me for a moment. I want to make certain you understand that the opposing party is represented by experienced counsel. I understand. You'll be held to the same procedural standards as any licensed attorney. I understand that as well. He gave a small nod. Very well. Across the aisle, I caught my father-in-law shaking his head almost imperceptibly. His expression said exactly what he was thinking. She has no idea what she's doing. Daniel's lead attorney stood first. She spoke confidently, calmly, and without hesitation. She described Daniel as a devoted father and a successful provider. She praised his financial stability. She emphasized that he had always supported our daughter. Then she shifted toward me. Mrs. Carter, she argued, had stepped away from a demanding legal career years ago and now worked only part-time from home. Her contribution to the household, while appreciated, had been significantly smaller from a financial standpoint. Every sentence was polished. Every argument sounded reasonable. If I hadn't lived through our marriage myself, I might have believed her. The attorney spoke for nearly 40 minutes. She presented charts, financial summaries, property valuations, retirement estimates. Everything looked neat. Everything looked complete. When she finally sat down, Daniel looked pleased. His mother smiled proudly from the gallery. The judge turned toward me. Mrs. Carter? I stood. I have no opening statement at this time, Your Honor. For the first time that morning, I heard quiet laughter behind me. Apparently, saying nothing confirmed exactly what everyone expected. They thought I was overwhelmed. They thought I was frightened. They thought I was waiting to lose. In reality, I was listening. Good lawyers don't interrupt. They let people become comfortable, because comfortable people make mistakes. The petitioner's first witness was Daniel himself. He walked confidently to the witness stand, took the oath, and answered every question with practiced ease. According to his testimony, every financial decision had been made jointly. Every account had been disclosed. Every major purchase had been discussed together. He sounded sincere. Even I almost admired how naturally the words came out. When his attorney finished questioning him, the judge looked toward me. Mrs. Carter, your witness. I walked slowly to the lectern. There was no dramatic speech, no raised voice, no anger, I simply opened my notebook. Good morning, Daniel. He smiled politely. Good morning. We've been married for 17 years? Yes. We've shared the same primary checking account during that time? Yes. And you've always considered honesty in financial matters important? Of course. I nodded once. No further questions on that point. His attorney looked almost amused. So did Daniel. They expected something dramatic. Instead, I turned a page. Daniel, would you remind the court when you first opened your investment account at Lakeshore Financial? For the first time all morning, his smile disappeared. Daniel didn't answer my question. Instead, he looked toward his attorney. She stood immediately. Objection, Your Honor. The judge adjusted his glasses. On what grounds? Counsel is attempting to introduce matters outside the scope of direct examination. I remained standing. Your Honor, the witness testified that every financial account had been fully disclosed during these proceedings. My question goes directly to that testimony. The judge considered it for a moment. Overruled. He turned back to Daniel. You may answer. Daniel cleared his throat. I don't remember the exact date. I nodded. No problem. I opened the folder that had been sitting quietly on my table all morning. It wasn't thick. It didn't need to be. Every document inside had a purpose. I handed the first exhibit to the bailiff. Bank records obtained through the discovery process, Your Honor. The copies were distributed. Silence settled over the courtroom as everyone began reading. The judge looked up first. Mr. Carter, this account does not appear on your financial disclosure. Daniel shifted in his seat. I forgot about that account. I asked another question. You forgot about an investment account containing several $100,000? No answer. I waited. Silence has a way of becoming louder than words. His attorney finally spoke. My client may have misunderstood the disclosure requirements. I turned another page. Then perhaps this will help. I presented a second exhibit. It showed a series of transfers made over the previous 18 months. Each transfer corresponded with deposits into the same undisclosed account. The dates matched exactly. The amounts matched exactly. There was no mystery left. Only arithmetic. The judge carefully reviewed the documents before looking directly at Daniel. Were these transfers made by you? Yes. Were they disclosed to the court? No. Another long silence followed. For the first time that morning, my father-in-law wasn't looking at me. He was staring at the table. The confidence that had filled his face earlier had disappeared. I wasn't finished. Your Honor, I'd also like to submit Exhibit 12. The judge accepted it. It contained emails discussing the planned sale of an investment property. The sale had never been mentioned during discovery. Neither had the proceeds. The judge's expression became noticeably more serious. Mr. Carter, why was this property omitted from your disclosures? Daniel looked toward his attorney again. She quietly whispered something. He swallowed. I didn't believe it was relevant. The judge leaned forward. The court determines relevance, Mr. Carter. No one laughed now. The gallery remained completely silent. Even the reporters seated near the back had stopped typing. After reviewing every exhibit, the judge closed the file. I have reviewed the testimony and documentary evidence presented today. He paused. The court expects complete financial transparency in every dissolution proceeding. He looked directly at Daniel. The omissions identified today are significant. His attorney requested a brief recess. The judge shook his head. Denied. A few minutes later, he delivered his ruling. Based on the evidence presented, the court ordered a revised division of marital assets, additional financial disclosures, and further accounting of the undisclosed funds before final judgment. He also noted that my preparation had materially assisted the court in understanding the complete financial picture. Then he looked at me. Mrs. Carter, while self-representation is challenging, the court appreciates the organized manner in which you presented your evidence. Thank you, Your Honor. The hearing ended. People slowly began leaving the courtroom. Hours earlier, Daniel's family had entered smiling. Now they walked out without saying a single word. My father-in-law passed within a few feet of me. For a brief moment, our eyes met. He looked away first. Outside, The afternoon sun reflected across the courthouse steps. I took one long breath. This wasn't about embarrassing anyone. It wasn't about proving I was smarter than expensive lawyers. It was about refusing to let preparation be mistaken for weakness. I hadn't raised my voice. I hadn't argued. I had simply told the truth and supported it with facts. Sometimes people laugh because they believe they've already won. Sometimes they mistake patience for surrender. But confidence built on assumptions rarely survives evidence. As I walked toward my car, my phone buzzed. It was my daughter. "Mom, how did it go?" I smiled for the first time in months. It went exactly the way the truth needed it to. And for the first time since this journey began, I wasn't thinking about what I'd lost. I was thinking about everything I had reclaimed. My peace, my confidence, and my future.